Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thursdays Live with Chug. Each week, we cover pressing topics that matter to you and your business. My name is Arianna Gonzalez, and I'm the Client Services Manager here at Chug Attorneys and CPAs. Please join me in welcoming Global Immigration Manager Gerardo Mendez from our Houston, Texas office. Hi there, Gerardo, and welcome.
Hello, Ariana. Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much for being here. So for today's topic, we will be talking about intra-company transfer posted worker process in France. In this live stream, we'll be covering all the basics, what the requirements are, the rules and the regulations, and everything you need to know for a successful ICT process. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started, we are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. This conversation is for informational purposes only. It does not create an attorney-client relationship. So please comment your questions below or email us at info@chug.com, and we'll be happy to help you out if we can't get to them in this session. So let's get started. Let's start with the basics. Gerardo, what is intra-company transfer and who qualifies for this?
An intercompany transfer is when an employee is transferred between entities of the same commercial or economic group, same parent company. Normally, the position has to be senior management or a position where significant knowledge or expertise is being transferred to local teams. And there is a requirement of at least 1 year of seniority with the home company before an employee is eligible for this process. You have the option to transfer the employee to the payroll in France or to remain on home payroll with a secondment contract with the French entity.
Great explanation. So basically, an ICT or intra-company transfer is when a seniority team member transfers to another company under the same company, another organization. So can you talk about the process for obtaining an ICT posted worker permit in France and what documents need to be provided in order to go through the process?
Yes, there are three main stages. Document gathering, which can take from 2.5 to 3 months. There is a significant corporate documents and information that needs to be gathered in preparation for the application materials. So the document gathering stage of the process can take 2.5 to 3 months. Then there is the work visa application at the home country of the assignee in the French consulate or visa application center closest to their home address. That typically takes 2 weeks to complete, 2 to 3 weeks to complete. And at that point, the assignee can travel to France, fully authorized to work from an immigration perspective. There is a post-arrival portion of the process that must be completed, the residence permit application. The work visa that the applicant receives in the consulate is valid for 90 days, and it's valid for one entry to France. That document will be replaced by the temporary residence permit once a permanent home address is determined. We have to apply with the local immigration office for this temporary residence permit, and that third and last portion of the process takes 12 weeks, 3 months. So the applicant is authorized to work from the time they arrive to France, and we have to file. We have 3 months. We have 90 days to file the temporary residence permit application. And once that is submitted, it typically takes about 2 weeks for the residence permit to be issued. And that's going to be replacing the actual consular visa and will be valid for the duration of the process. That's in general terms what the process entails. In terms of requirements, they vary on a case-by-case basis, but typically we would need a full passport copy from the applicant, an updated resume, birth certificate. It is important that the names on the birth certificate and the passport match, and copies of the degree or degrees that the applicant holds. pay stubs for the previous 6 months from the time the application is filed, and the details of the current location, address, and contact information. In case we have accompanying family members, we would need also copies of the passports for each family member, birth certificates for the children, and marriage certificate for the spouse. And from the companies, it's just information that is specific to the assignment. For example, the name and address of the entity for whom the assignee will work in France, a detailed job description, the salary, the location of the payroll, whether the applicant will remain on home payroll with a secondment contract with the French entity, or whether that individual will be transferred to the local payroll in the French company. We need to define the duration of the assignment, and also there will be additional documents needed that serve as evidence that the company is in good standing with, for example, the labor and tax authorities in France. From the home company, it's also just information regarding the assignee's employment history as needed, and these vary on a case by case basis. But we can, I guess, we can get into more detail as we review each case.
So it sounds like there are quite a few steps in the process and quite a bit of documents that you need to gather and have prepared for this process. So I know you've been doing this for quite some time, Gerardo. In your experience, how long would you say that the ICT posted worker permit process usually takes? Are there any expedited options available for those who are seeking that? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. The total duration of the process is estimated between 6 and 7 months typically. The applicant is able to arrive in France, authorized to work at the 3 to 3.5 month mark, and requires to complete the post-arrival temporary resident portion of the process. Also, the process might need to be 100% completed, meaning the post-arrival portion of the process completed in order for the host company to finalize hiring formalities outside of immigration requirements, for example, payroll or tax registrations. We don't have an option like an expedited option at this point, and the expectation should be established at about approximately 6 to 7 months to complete an ICT posted worker process.
That's a great estimate. So about 6 to 7 months. Okay, sounds great. So I know we have quite a few of individuals that are watching our videos and our live streams to go through this process, as well as quite a few HR managers from larger companies. So can you talk about the requirements and obligations for the employer and the employee under the ICT posted worker process in France?
Yes, it's there are not a lot of requirements per se. The basics are that the salary offered to the assignee should go according to the position. The position is supposed to be a senior management position, and the salary should reflect that. Also, something that they are very specific about is the salary offered to the assignee should be at least, and this applies pretty much everywhere, at least the minimum wage level. The assignment cannot be extended beyond 3 years. And the home company, in cases where the assignee remains on home payroll, they have to secure a certificate of coverage from the Social Security Administration, which they would continue to be responsible for the Social Security responsibilities in light of a bilateral agreement between France and the U.S.
That's a great summary for the requirements and obligations. So make sure the salary is aligned with the position, that it is at least minimum wage. You're not exceeding the assignment extended more than 3 years. And then make sure you have the certificate of coverage from the SSA. So, are there any restrictions on the types of activities that a posted worker can undertake while they're in France? Can you talk about your experience with that?
Yes, there will be a contract, a specific contract with the French entity, whether it is a secondment contract in the cases where the assignee remains on home payroll, or just a specific contract with the French entity. And that document will be specific in terms of the entity for which the assignee will work, and the job duties for the job duties that they will carry out. Um, Basically, it is job specific and company specific, and working for alternative entities or carrying out activities that are not specified in the contract would not be permitted.
So make sure that the activities you are performing match the job description and they are in the contract so that you don't run into any issues. Thank you for stressing the importance of that, Gerardo. So can you talk about what happens if a posted worker assignment in France is extended beyond the initial period stated in the permit?
Yes, the ICT posted worker has a maximum duration of 3 years. If the company extends the assignment beyond 3 years, they will have the option to change the status of the assignee to a different immigration category, or initiate a new ICT posted worker process from scratch. That would mean that the employee would need to leave the country and observe a cool off period of 6 months before a new ICT posted worker process can be initiated.
Great explanation. So, for everyone just tuning in, just a quick disclaimer, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. This conversation is for informational purposes only. It does not create an attorney-client relationship. So please email us any questions you have at info@chug.com, and we'll be happy to help you out with those. So now back to our discussion, Gerardo. Can you talk about the consequences for the employer if they fail to comply with the ICT posted worker regulations in France?
Yes, they vary greatly. Could go from economic fines to the banning of the company from sponsoring work permits in the future. Those are really reviewed on a case by case basis, but it is a wide range of possibilities.
So basically, the best way an employer can demonstrate that they're compliant with the ICT posted worker process is just to ensure that they're providing the proof of existence, all the necessary documents, and the worker visa application. Can you
Yes, that
talk?
is. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I was gonna say, usually when companies sponsor this type of permits, they keep records and they have proof of all the documents that they issue to support the application, and to keep the appropriate records of the assignment. So yes, whenever the authorities request evidence of the appropriate permits, they are generally able to provide, go into their own files, and provide the necessary evidence for the immigration authorities, immigration or labor authorities.
That's great information. Can you talk about if there are any other permits or visas required for family members that are accompanying the posted worker to France?
Sorry, I left myself on mute. Yes, the family members will be able to obtain residence permits as dependents of the main employee. Basically, the employee would need to complete the work visa portion of the process and then arrive in France with the family members, and they would be able to complete the residence permit applications. The main applicant would be the sponsor of the family, and the family would go as dependents.
That's great to know. So family members can get temporary resident permits. So I know a lot of people reach out to our law firm to help them with this ICT process. Can you talk a little bit about the support and assistance that our law firm or any law firm in general will provide throughout the intra-company transfer posted worker process in France, and more specifically, what you do for your clients for them in this process?
Yes, the initial step would be to basically review the information specific to the assignment, and first we must determine the appropriate visa category, and that's done by it's just called a determination process. We just obtain the information from the client, what they want to do, what they have, and we determine if the ICT posted worker process is the best option. Once that is determined, we'll liaise with the employee, with the home company in the home country, and with the host company in France to gather the necessary information and documents to prepare a file, like the visa application file for the employee. We go from getting the information from the onset to preparing and drafting the applications and providing the application packet to the applicant. They need to the assignee will need to personally appear at the consulate or visa application center with that visa packet to apply for the work visa. There is an appointment that must be obtained from either the consulate or the visa application center. We provide detailed instructions to the applicant on how to go about getting the appointment scheduled and how to prepare for the visit. Once they obtain the work visa, they are in a position to travel to France and begin working. And once the assignee is in France and permanent home address has been defined, we coordinate also the post-arrival temporary resident applications for the applicant and for any accompanying family members until completion, until they receive their temporary residence permits that replace that consular work visa.
I appreciate you going into detail about that. It sounds like the law firm helps with quite a bit throughout this process. So make sure you are working closely with your attorney if you're going through this process, to make sure you have all the documents that you need and the process goes over smoothly. So, Gerardo, can an employee work for multiple clients while they're on an ICT posted worker permit in France? Is that allowed? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, no, they cannot. There will be a specific contract by which the assignee will work. There will be a specific contract with a specific entity for a specific job, entity and job specific. So the company cannot, or the employee cannot work for multiple clients or at multiple locations, because that would constitute what in France they call double secondment, which is illegal. So no, there is a specific location and a specific job description for which the assignee is contracted.
That's some great insight into that. So you can only work with one company and stay with the specifically assigned job that you have in your contract. So what happens if a posted worker, for example, becomes ill or injured while they're in France? Are they entitled to receive any medical treatment or compensation?
Yes, as part of the contract, the employee and the family members, in this case, if that applies, they are covered by medical insurance and by benefits the same way that they would be, for example, if they work in the U.S. So yes, they would have access to medical treatment and compensation if applicable.
Great. I know that's very important information for a lot of our listeners. So, what are the rules and regulations around Social Security contributions for posted workers in France? Do you have any insight on that?
Yes, as I mentioned a bit earlier, there is a Social Security bilateral agreement between the USA and France. For For an ICT posted worker who remains on home payroll with a secondment contract, the Social Security contributions remain in his or her home country in the US. A certificate of coverage issued by the Social Security Administration is needed as part of the work visa application materials, and that must be obtained by the home company from the Social Security Administration directly.
Those are some great insights. Are there any, is there a maximum amount of time an ICT posted worker can stay in France?
Yes, 3 years is the maximum for an ICT posted worker position or permit. If the company decides to extend the assignment beyond that time, they will have the option to have a change of status process for the assignee to a different immigration category, or initiate a new process, ICT posted worker process, observing the 6 month cool off period in which the assignee would need to leave the country, excuse me, and wait for 6 months and then initiate a new ICT posted worker process.
So the maximum amount is 3 years. You are not allowed to exceed that 3-year mark. Make sure that you are talking to your company if you do want to stay longer, because you do have to go through the process a little differently. So can you talk about the posted worker travel to other European countries? Are they allowed to leave and travel to other European countries while they're on the ICT posted worker permit in France?
Yes, when they have a valid work visa on their passport, or once they have obtained the residence permit from the French immigration authorities, they are entitled to travel throughout the Schengen area without the need to get a second visa. They can travel on tourism or business activities for periods of 90 days per visit, and they are allowed to engage in business activities, business meetings, typical business activities. However, any hands-on work is not permitted during those trips.
Great. So you can travel, but you cannot work in those countries. That makes sense. So can you talk about if a company can transfer its employees to France without going through the ICT posted worker process? Are there other visas available, for example?
Yes, there are different types of visas available for workers, depending on their circumstances. There is a local hire visa that is available with labor market study. It's a different. It would be different circumstances depending on the on the specifics of the assignment. But yes, there are other options that are not necessarily the ICT posted worker option.
That's great to know that employers do have another option if they don't want to go through the ICT posted worker process. So, in your experience, I know you stay up to date with all of the changes in this area quite a bit. So, are there any changes that you know of that we can expect in the near future in this ICT posted worker process? Is there anything you can share with us about that?
Yes, no. At this point, there haven't been any changes reported, there haven't been any news or announced that any upcoming changes. So we don't know about any upcoming changes in the near future.
That's great insight. Thank you so much for reassuring us about that. No changes in the near future that we know of so far. Again, thank you so much for your time, Gerardo. This does bring us to the end of our conversation. Thank you so much to those who joined us today. If this video was helpful, please make sure to press the like button and subscribe. And to stay up to date, please make sure to subscribe on all of our platforms and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to send us an email at info@chup.com, and join us back here next week for more pressing topics that truly matter to you and your business. Until next time, stay safe and take care.